Today I'm going to show you one of the coolest and most important techniques all watercolor painters are going to want to know about, and show you how it can be a complete game changer for you. If you're here today, chances are you're looking for a reason to pick up your brushes and paint. I'm going to show you how to paint in a way that might be new to you and might possibly lead to changes in your art life. And I'm using my favorite set of paints in a way you might not think possible. So let's get started. I'm just going to go around the outside edge with some masking tape so that when the painting's done, I've got a clean edge. I don't always do this, but it's something that you may or may not have done. If you're very new to painting, this might be new to you. You can use washi tape if you want, or you can use just builder's masking tape, or Meeden also sell a selection of different thicknesses, which I don't have with me here. They have thinner ones, which are like that kind of thickness, so it looks like that, which is quite handy. But otherwise, builder's tape works really quite well. The only thing with builder's tape, sometimes it's a little bit too sticky, so you want to get, if you can, a low-tack version. Now, this painting today is not going to be of anything. One of the things that I learned years ago about painting in watercolor is that watercolor can be very transparent, and if it is transparent, it's very hard to cover up what's underneath, right? And that can be a disadvantage, but there's also an advantage in it too, because if you want to layer different colors one on top of the other, watercolor is perfect for that, much better than oil or acrylic, or most certainly gouache, because gouache is really very opaque. Anyway, so I've got here my Kuretake Art Nouveau set. There's been a lot of discussion about whether or not this is actually really watercolor, and it is, because it's activated by adding water to it, and that makes it watercolor paint. And in actual fact, there's very, very little difference between this paint and all the other kinds of watercolor paint that we are familiar with, you know, the Daniel Smiths of this world and the Winsor and Newtons and all the rest of it. The only difference is, in my opinion, that these can be painted in a more opaque way. And the Art Nouveau set is actually different from the regular Kuretake. These ones are much less, they have much less body color in them, which means to say that they don't have as much white. These ones have got quite a lot of white. Having said that, I'm actually going to swap over and I'm going to use my traditional set because of what I'm going to be painting today. I had forgotten the reason for why I was going to use this set and not that one. Okay, you know what it's like. Temperature here is around 40 degrees centigrade at the moment, which I think is well over 100. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is in Fahrenheit, but it's pretty darn hot here. And so if my brain doesn't work, if I say something silly, if you don't understand, then, you know, you'll understand, won't you? So what I'm going to do today is not going to be demanding, because if you're in 40 degrees, you don't want to be demanded of. It's going to be just for fun. Geometric shapes and overlaying them. This is something which is completely undemanding. What I'm going to do, I'm using a flat brush. This one is a 1/2 inch flat, and I'm going to pick up colour, and I'm just going to paint what you could call crystals, okay? And these are going to be just whatever shape comes out of my brush. Doesn't have to be anything particular. I'm just going to try to keep the only thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to keep the edges more or less sharp, if you see what I mean. And it doesn't matter what the colour is that I put down. It doesn't have to look like anything other than just a crystal. Imagine that you are in a jewellery shop and you're looking at all the emeralds and diamonds and rubies. What else is there? I don't know. Garnets and topaz. And what's blue? Blue is I can't remember. What is blue? Blue. Like that. I can't remember what is a blue gem? Can't remember. Sapphire. Sapphire, that's it. Sapphire. Yeah. So what we're going to do is this. We're just going to cover the whole page with these lovely colours. Whatever happens to come up, wherever your brush lands, and whatever shape comes out of the end of your brush. And this way you can explore. We can have a little black one. That would be, what's a black stone? Jet, that's it. Searching the recesses of my mind. You could use any brush. You don't have to use a flat. You could use a round brush if you don't have a flat brush, but it's probably easier to get straight lines. But this is actually quite a good way of practicing brush control. Water control, all of these things that people talk about, how you've got to do this and you've got to do that. The thing is, you do, but you don't want boring old exercises. You want to actually get on and paint. The last thing you want to do is cover a piece of paper with just random brush marks, isn't it? You want to get on and paint. So why don't we just get on and paint like this? That's what I say. I'm looking for pink. This is a pinkish colour, I think. No, not really. Let's try this one down here. Yeah. Let's put a nice big pink. What's pink? What stone is pink? Well, and they don't have to be completely even or anything, and they can ruby. It's actually quite fun. It is, this is fun. And we can, so for this first layer, I'm doing them all reasonably big, right? We might put a few slightly larger ones on. So yeah, reasonably big. And then we're going to let it dry. And you're exploring all your different colours here. If you've just got a set of Kuretake paints, this is a really good way to explore the colours. Amethyst. filling up all the spaces. We need some more green. What do you think? And I think we need some more blue. What colour blue? How about ultramarine? Ultramarine, I think, is actually a stone, isn't it? And once we have filled up all the spaces, we'll start to overlap them. Now, some people might find this kind of painting technique tedious, but and actually, I mean, to be honest, it's not necessarily something that I would find myself naturally drawn to. But I saw a piece of fabric with a design like this on it, and I thought that would be interesting to see if I could reproduce that effect. So that's what we're doing, exploring, reproducing the effect that was probably created using AI or something. You can't trust anything nowadays. You can't believe in anything. I think we need some nice strong purple again. And put some more of that over here. I used to have a big piece of amethyst, crystal. I don't know where it's gone. I'm just thinking, what have I done with it? I think we need a bit more pink. Let's go down here for pink. A bit up here. And in a minute, I'm going to have to let it dry, and then I'm going to prove to you, I hope, that Kuretake paints are transparent, the same as every other watercolor. Let's have a bit of this aqua green. And the beautiful thing about painting something like this is that you haven't got to worry about what colour goes with what, because you're just painting colours. We're not trying to create anything. We're just painting colour and shape, but only for the heck of it. We're not trying to paint a bird or a tree. Or anything. Okay. Okay. Can you see any spaces? I think there's one here. The other thing that this will give you is a better sense of balance, because that's something that needs to come kind of, what's the word, unconsciously. Otherwise it just becomes a real hassle. Having to think about these things all the time. I have no patience with colour wheels and that sort of thing, because I just don't have the patience, to be quite honest. Okay, so I think I've covered it more or less evenly now. So what I'm going to do is dry it. It needs to dry thoroughly. So I'll get the hairdryer on it, and then I'm going to go over it with another layer of the same sort of thing, but going over the top, and I hope that we're going to get some interesting effects. Okay, I think that's pretty much dry. One thing about the temperature being so high here, of course, is that chances are things are going to dry off pretty quickly. Now, I think, I don't think there's even any sort of rules about how you would approach doing the second layer, except I think I would probably be inclined to overlap a similar colour with a different one, if you see what I mean. So I might take some purple and try that. Okay, and then maybe blue. And then maybe green. And where they touch, sometimes you're going to get bleeds. And I think personally that is what I'm hoping will happen. I think it's quite nice if that does happen. So I'm not going to try and stop that. What you can see is that the paint is transparent and you can see through it to the colour that's underneath. And this is called layering or veil painting, depending on which country you come from. And it's very important as a skill if you want to do landscapes and portraits and things like that, because you need to build up layers of colour. But you can see that it works just the same. If you try it with Winsor & Newton colour, it'll work just the same. Daniel Smith, any. So I hope I've managed to prove to people that Kuretake watercolours are watercolour, and they are transparent if you use enough water. Of course, if you don't use any water, then they will be more opaque. The ones I'm putting on top, these second layer of gems, are slightly bigger. than the ones underneath because I want to link them together. And the great thing about doing something like this is that you don't have to feel in any way pressured to create anything. And if nothing happens, if you don't like what you've done, then fine, it doesn't matter. And if you do like what you've done, then send it off to spoon flour and have it made into fabric, which is something I'm definitely thinking about doing if I can make it work in France, which I'm not sure if I can. Definitely can't do it here. Then I might try and get some fabric printed so that I can make some cushions. I want to do some cushions. The painting I did the day before yesterday of the dove, I really like the way that turned out. And I'm thinking of making that made into a piece of fabric that I can use to make a cushion, a pillow, you know, to put on the sofa, couch. Have you ever had it happen to you that you keep thinking of somebody that you used to know years ago? They keep popping into your mind. Somebody that you didn't have anything to do with after a brief acquaintance, but all of a sudden, for some reason, that person keeps popping into your head and you think to yourself, oh my God, I wonder if they've died or something, you know, and I've got that happening to me at the moment. There was a woman I used to work with. When I had my first job, I worked for the Midland Bank, and her name was Anita, and she keeps popping into my mind, and I don't know why. She was older than me, so she would be, not a lot older, but she would be older than me, so she'd probably be 80 by now. I think she might have even been 10 years older than me, so yeah, so it's, you know, her whole life has passed, and I knew her for like a really short period of time in the 1970s, yeah, mid-70s. Anyway, have you ever had that happen? And suddenly you're kind of constantly thinking of this person that you I barely knew her. She used to give me a lift home from work because the buses were a bit unreliable. I don't know, very strange. That was when I worked for the Midland Bank, when we still had the Midland Bank. English people who watch the channel will remember the Midland Bank. Well, I think, is it still called the Midland Bank? I can't remember. I think it's HSBC now. It's been HSBC for ages, hasn't it? Yeah. My husband at that time, his father was the CEO of Midland Bank at that time. Okie dokie, well, we're carrying on here nicely. And every time I put down a stroke, we see colours coming through from underneath, influencing the one that's going on top. All these different colours, all behaving nicely together. They're playing together like good friends. And you start to put something like a bright green on top and you think, oh, I wonder if that's going to be okay. But actually, yes, it is. I think I'm learning that it's a good idea to sort of link the, like I said at the beginning, it is a good idea to kind of link the colours. So where you've got blue, you put another blue over the top or something like that. Okay, so now I think I'm going to probably put in some smaller pieces. So I'm going to go to a smaller brush. This is an angle brush, this one. It should be okay, I think. But it's a little bit smaller, and I'll probably try and pick up some darker colours. Maybe the idea of a few bits of jet, that is to say, sort of black. That might work. And you can see that the strong colour, the black, kind of highlights the lighter, brighter colours. I'll put one up here. And I think I might perhaps go for some stronger, darker blue. I quite like the ultramarine. So maybe, I think I might have to just dry it briefly. Okay, well, I've swapped away from the angle brush, and now I'm using just a very narrow flat here. This is a 1/4 inch flat, and I've picked up some ultramarine, and we're going to put some small, I make it a bit stronger than that, small blue pieces tucked into corners. And we can over paint if we've got, not like this one, this is, I've just gone over the top, but you can put a piece of darker blue into the center of some of your other blue ones. And it's kind of up to you to decide when you're going to call it enough, you know. I think probably I want a little bit more green up here. Sort of joining these ones up a bit. Yeah. And we don't want to cover up, well, you could cover all the white. You could do that, but you might want to leave a fair bit of it open, just so that it can breathe a little bit, especially around the edges, I'm thinking. But you'd be surprised, actually, what a difference. You must try this. You must try this because it is very interesting. And honestly, I think if there is one thing I would say that you do need to practice, it is overlaying colours like this. And I don't want to hear anybody telling me ever again that Kuretake paints are not proper watercolours. I think I should make that the title of this video, don't you? But no, it's not an advert for Kuretake. I get tired of people, not you, but some people, some trolley types, say, oh yes, but they're not proper watercolours. Oh, they blooming well are. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do now, having got to this point. I think probably it's enough. I think you've got the message. I'm going to take the tape off from the outside edge. If you like my videos, do give us a like on the thumbs up button below, and think about subscribing to the channel. And also consider perhaps becoming, if you're really keen on learning watercolour, perhaps become a member of our Patreon, which you can join from a very small amount each month. You can cancel any time. You don't have to commit to any period of membership. You can join for free, actually, and just get a feeling for what we do. Or you can join at any of the different levels and you get different amounts of benefits and perks and things. And yeah, that's really helpful to us because that's the way we are able to carry on doing things here on YouTube. So pop over to Patreon and have a look over there. And don't forget also to check the community chat on here on YouTube. I don't know if you're aware of how it works, but you should be getting from time to time little messages coming through on your feed from us. And just this week, we've started using that feature a lot more. So you're going to be finding things like little mini quizzes and did you knows and polls and, all sorts of things like that, anything we can think of. And we would love to hear from you. Be very interested to know what you have to say about this and that and the other. So there we are. That is this painting. And you could take this a lot further. This is a fantastic idea for a background. And you could, you could paint anything over the top of it, or else you could just come in close and you've got something that looks like stained glass. And I think that's actually really very interesting, don't you? I enjoyed doing that. It's very relaxing. If it doesn't have any other purpose, it has the function of giving you the sense of peace that we're all looking for these days and not finding very readily. So I hope you do try it. Let me know what you think. Let me know how it turned out if you did something like this in the comments below. And I'll say bye-bye for now. Enough of my rabbiting on, and I'll see you again soon. So I'll say bye-bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.